Everybody, glad to be here. It's Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I am going live. Hey, Stuart, good to see you. Welcome. I'm excited to be talking about a topic tonight that is just so near and dear to my heart as a highly sensitive person and empath. And I'm going to wait just a few minutes, but I've found over the years, it's taken me 44 fucking years to figure this out and have the experience of what is the most important thing to realize as an empath and sensitive about your emotions. So we're going to go a little bit on the journey before I share what that is. We're going to uncover it. And so I thought I would just take a moment. Last week we talked about conscious rituals. So important as a highly sensitive person and an empath to create some structure that supports you to go deeper within yourself. We're going to continue that discussion on another episode, but that kind of leads us to this deeper topic of emotions. We all have emotions. It's part of being human, and it's a really important part of being human. And this is why it's so near and dear to me, is because growing up, I learned, it was part of my trauma, I guess from the traumas and from the sensitivity that I had, I began to disconnect from my emotions. And I didn't have anyone to model that behavior of what healthy emotions look like, or connecting or integrating with your emotions. I've lived in the talking head family, is the way I called it. So we learned to be up here in our heads, talk, and disconnect from our body. I think that our society tends to kind of be more that way now than I think ever. I think if you look back in history, you can see some really interesting threads. So one of the key pieces to talk about tonight is kind of where and what is the emotional part of our system. I call it the instinctual emotional self. Through our evolution, I believe, and through my teachers sharing some of this wisdom and helping me understand it, I believe that if you go back, way back in history, when we were more cave people and tribal and connected on that very earthly space, we had a pure connection, a pure just allowance of the emotional instinctual self to have its place. If you look at, our animal friends, our dogs, our cats, they just operate so purely in that instinctual. They don't stop and think about their emotions. They're one with them in a really unique way. I really think that us humans are one of the only species that actually we can just literally disconnect and be a head and a body pretty much in the way that we operate in the world. And it's not surprising if you look at, back from when, Christianity and Christ Jesus, the birth of Christ, all that, probably even before then, we have really had some dark times. Lots of control, especially the masculine energy on the planet has been really controlling and forceful, versus the feminine's been extremely repressed. And so we've all been out of balance a little bit. And that feminine energy is very earthy and deep, emotional. And so here we are, we've gone through all these years as humans disconnecting, being more analytical about life, many of us. Unless if you've been more in a tribal family that's really connected to their roots and typically you'll find families, I've noticed this, that sing and are connected to their voice and connected to their bodies, really have a connection with their emotional instinctual self that's a lot clearer and pure. It's taken me so long. I've danced, I've sing and chant and connected all these pieces, which have helped me so much to gaining a deeper connection, a reintegration of my mind and my body and my emotional self. It's been such an amazing journey. I wouldn't change a damn thing about it, because all of those experiences have deepened this awareness within myself. So you might ask, so what is this one thing that is so important that you it's like the must know this as an empath or sensitive. When you're disconnected from your emotions is when oftentimes you want, like a sensitive and empaths, we take on things and we don't know what's mine and what's theirs, right? You're in a situation around a lot of people. Well, it's that disconnect from our body and our emotional self that creates a disconnect in our awareness of what's mine and what's other. And that is the key. By going on this journey and discovering more deeply your emotional self and uncovering it, we're just going to get into it deeper here tonight, you begin to understand what is you and what is other, energetically, vibrationally, and you begin to be less mixed up in situations and more clear in yourself. I'm going to give you some examples of how this emotional awareness has really been so deep in my experience, because as an empath or sensitive, I disassociated because things were uncomfortable. The natural essence that I was vibrating as a young one was told and was shown externally that that's not okay. It's not okay to be a gay man. It's not okay to be this. You get made fun of or teased or bullied or shamed. So many things happen. And so guess what? My emotions, which was shame, anger, frustration, fear, all kinds of different things, layers, guilt. We talk about the 7 kind of heavy emotions, which are fear, desire, anger, shame, grief, depression, and guilt. And oh my Lord, when I was young, all of those things, and I had to, in order to be okay and survive, I had to disconnect. And I bet many of you can understand that on some level, that you had to disconnect from your pure essence, your relationship with your emotional, human, and animal self that can protect you. Your body can protect you, but when you don't feel safe and you feel afraid, and then you don't understand or have a model as to why that fear is there or why those emotions are coming up and how they can actually take you to your soul. It's a little bit of a process with each one. But if we begin to deepen our relationship and understand why those emotions are present, we can move through life from our basic needs and into our soul needs and get into a more connection with our soul. One of my mentors and teachers, and that teacher's teacher, refers to emotions as the senses of the soul. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. What does that mean? And I get it. I'm beginning to get it more and more deeply as I have my own experiences with reintegrating my emotional, instinctual, and animal self. Yes, we have an animal instinctual self, we have a human self, and we have a soul, a spirit self that's vast. And if these are segmented or not working together, that's when life can get really wonky and it's just not so fun. It's pretty intense. Um, and things just don't flow. When we connect with our emotions and in our bodies, things flow so much nicer. So imagining that story, just stepping back a hair, that we started thousands of years ago more connected to that, the land, the earth, the tribal, the beat within ourselves. We talked about rhythms last week, but getting to that beat, right? And over the years, and look at us today with our internet, our phones, our disconnection with the human self and one another. That has taken it to an even more level than we've ever seen. But the interesting thing is the evolution of the planet, the earth, this awakening Aquarian age is actually having us continue to open up like that, but also go deep, face our shadows, and reclaim the essence of our instinctual self, the emotional self. It's not fun. I don't think it's been too fun. It's been an adventure. The fun parts to me is learning and gaining more awareness about life and how this stuff works. I love how stuff works, being an engineer in my background, a mechanical engineer, acoustics and vibration person. So let's talk a little bit more specific. Let's focus in on some emotions so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit, and how when you understand why the emotion's there, then you can work with it a little more consciously. And there's so many tools: meditation, yoga, dialoguing, coaching, counseling, like working with someone to help you gain some of these awarenesses. I've found is really important. Some people can focus in one area, some people in another, and some of us need all of it. I needed all of it, as I had a lot of disconnections, and still have some I'm working on for sure. This life experience is quite something. Life gives us the opportunity at each moment to learn and integrate more. So I wanted tonight to share a couple of my experiences with emotions. For example, inner anger and anger has been one that's been really challenging in my experience, and it keeps coming up over and over again. So the big question is, so why do I keep getting angry in these specific situations? And there's all different kinds. And what I've learned is that when I was young, I repressed so much because I didn't feel safe. So I disconnected from anger. I disconnected those mental emotional, because really our thoughts and feelings are kind of like a different frequency of one another. So if we're feeling something, there's thoughts that are going on that are in parallel, but in a different frequency. So as I started working on myself these last 15 years and mining into these situations and why does anger keep coming up for me, one of my mentors showed me that it's the first reason is that anger is an instinct of protection. So when we go into a situation and we get angry at someone or something external, there's a part of us, and maybe that anger, which is an energy of fire, so it's empowering. Anger, that pure essence of that fire heat, is our power that we can feel in our body. So it can be amazing and we need it so much, but when it's out of balance or there's a disconnect, we start to project our anger unconsciously on other things. If you start questioning, this is a really awesome practice, is to start questioning your feelings and why am I angry? Why am I sad? If it's not obvious, these kind of repetitive type of things, questioning is so huge. So when I started questioning why am I angry, I realized that I was deeply trying to protect myself from something. It really started to make sense on a lot of levels, but my ego was trying to protect first and foremost because, for example, when I was young, you know, my my mother, she was a single mom. She did the best that she could, but life was hard. She had to work a lot, and she did these things, and she would come home angry, and take it out on other people, trying to control. But what I've learned is that's a form of protection. Um, and, and so if you start going a little deeper, like, for example, my mother, while there was layers, I've learned later on that, she was very stressed out. And so her spirit was calling out, to I need help, I need some support, I need some love, I need some attention. And instead it would come out in lashing. And that's one thing that I've learned with myself. When I get angry and I go, what do I need in this moment? What am I trying to protect myself from? A lot of times what I've found out, I took on the pattern of my mother. I'm trying to do everything, trying to work so hard and do all these things to the point of exhaustion or self-depleting. And so my ego, my spirit, my emotions, anger comes up to try to go, whoo, this heat to try to protect and let me know that there's something off. So as I've gone through lots of inner anger releasement and processed, and as I've understood this, I know how if I get to anger, I've really gone too far. Like, I've really started to overwork myself or not taken care of my needs. And those needs could be the full scale. I love, and one thing that's been really helpful for me is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because a lot of times that protection was coming up for me because a lot of my basic needs or needs for love and attention were not being met. And so I would take that out on other people, I need something. So I invite you to, if you're one that has inner anger, and if you're an empath or sensitive and you've repressed, I bet you have a little or a lot of inner anger to heal and clear. It's such a blessing, and just embrace it, because anger, when we reintegrate anger, it's power. So we take our power back, and instead of projecting our power externally or taking power externally, when we meet our needs and understand, oh, I'm getting angry, I'm giving my power away in a big way. It's another way to look at it. It's trying to get you to bring your power back. And so, this, fire comes up to try to protect, and here we go, giving our power away again. But if you can go and see it in the moment, oh, I'm getting angry, where am I giving my power away? Where am I overdoing it? Or whatever else, that's been my thing, overdoing stuff. So yeah, ask yourself the question, if anger is coming up for you in different areas, how can you take care of yourself? Because it's some part of you is needing that connection with your soul, that deeper, and it could be a multitude of depths of something that you need to take care of for yourself. So let's move on to another one, because fear for me was a big one. I had a lot of fear about a lot of things when I was young. Just not feeling safe in the world. I don't know if you all might relate to that idea of, getting afraid in situations. And man, I hated the emotion. Like, why do I have to be afraid? This feels icky. Same with anger. It feels icky. But it's trying to get our attention. And we've learned that these emotions, we've been taught, many of us, that those things, those feelings are bad and shameful. So don't do that. Only certain people do that. You don't want to show it. So a lot of our thing with those emotions are belief patterns that have taught us they're not good. So we disconnect. So again, fear as like an animal instinct. If you think about animals' fear, fear heightened senses. I know if I get a little afraid, my body maybe gets a little bit more energy and I'm on alert, looking what's going on in around me. So on a real instinctual level, fear is like information gathering. What do I need? So let's say sometimes when we're disconnected from the instinct and we're all in our head and we're afraid and we go even more in our head because then we don't want to feel the fear on top of that. And oh my gosh, it gets crazy. So what if we go and let's say this, because I grew up in my metaphysical community, fear meant false evidence appearing real. So it was false, like in my psyche. What I've learned this last year, it just flipped for me. It's like fear is feel everything and relax. So the body gets heightened senses, check in, what's going on, alert, and what information do I need? So this is a thing where you, like, fear is that instinct that goes, wait, I need more information on something. Or if it's fear showing you need to act, being connected to your emotions, you can just flow right into action. Look at animals that are afraid, like the little rodents and things. Man, they roll when they feel that instinct of fear kicks in. And a lot of times, if you've ever watched one, they'll look really fast and take in everything and then they'll bolt. So imagine if we are really connected with fear in that way, in an integrated way, and you see that you experience fear. Maybe it's something new, and maybe you're experiencing fear because it's new and you need to ask some questions or just go through an experience a couple of times to get some experience built up around that thing that you're doing that's new. So what if you could reframe your concept of fear as being check in, feel everything, and relax? Let yourself feel the fear. Let yourself get heightened and tuned in and focused on what you need. If you notice, when fear becomes a problem, we get all in our head and we get frazzled. What if you were in your body with fear? You felt it and you fully embrace the action that has kicked in to get the information you need to do what you need to do. And that could be basic needs, back to Maslow's. It could be belonging, love. It could be spiritual insight, bigger, of something that you might need. So powerful stuff, y'all. This is some of the most powerful awarenesses that's helped me really understand what it means to be human as an empath and a sensitive. And let's hit the last one, because desire, tonight I thought I would hit 3. Desire is a big one for me, you all. When I was growing up, I just didn't feel worthy to desire things. My parents didn't either. Like, it was, as long as all of your, basic things are taken care of, you shouldn't desire. And that desire goes down to sex. It goes into relationship on all kinds of levels. Desire to connect with the universe, all these kind of desires. And you may notice just the thought of maybe certain dimensions of desire or vibrations of desire may be more uncomfortable than others, based on our beliefs. Something that society or our parent or our community has modeled in a way that's not really supportive. Well, when I spent a month working on desire here earlier this year, it was just mind blowing because was able to reclaim that it was really okay on such a deep level to desire on all levels, from my most basic needs all the way through those Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this one's huge for many of us. If you've, sensitive person, you've not felt like you could desire, or certain, windows of desire were just off limits. What if you could imagine opening to the universal infinity of desire? So, what does desire teach? In the experience I've had, I've seen that desire can really help us and connect us with our needs. If we listen to what we're desiring, sometimes there's that burning longing, that hunger that's so because we've repressed or not listened to that for so long. It's intense when we do that. But as we, allow ourselves to feel those huge cravings, that's where addiction, I think so many addictions I feel, and I know in talking to people that have had addictions, there's even, you can see in how they relate to themselves that they as well, there was some deeper desire within them that couldn't be met, and so they had to go to alcohol, drugs, food to find love, when what the desire was for was a need for love and affection, attention on a deeper level. So for me, my love was met through that need for love in particular, was met through food. So my family, I start feeling stuff and I would go right to food. So these emotions kind of weave together. And if you're like me, where you grew up really disconnected from emotions, there's like a whole string of layers all happening, like all seven sometimes working and coming up at the same time. So disentangling them and learning their unique vibrations helps to heal and integrate. So yeah, desire for me in pretty much my whole life, even now, my body, if I'm not feeling like I'm getting the love or attention or whatever, I go to food. So it takes time to work through this stuff, especially when it's a habit from your whole life. So that's if I would say that there's an addiction for me, that would be it. And in my early 20s, probably 20 through 20, I sex and masturbation and all that stuff was a big deal for me because I had repressed sexuality. Like, we didn't talk about it. So finding pleasure in my body was a huge deal. So allowing myself to go into that level of desire, it just began. There was so much shame attached to desire at that time that, but it opened a door. So many, like 23 years later, I learn and integrate a lot of these things where I can allow myself to experience. But it wasn't easy, and it's not easy when we hit these pockets of our shadows. So if you have a desire within you, I invite you to allow it to come forth so that you can begin to see what your deeper needs are. So a desire for, food, using my own example, if I stop and I question, what do I really want? I really want to feel love. I can feel it. I really want to have attention. All of those kind of things. So it's really powerful to just tap in and ask yourself, get to know yourself better. So what we talked about last week, creating a conscious rituals, because it takes a practice sometimes, a pretty steady self-care to break into these depths. This is some deep shadow work, y'all, that I'm talking about tonight, but it's freaking awesome. I just can't tell you how much it can help you in your life if you're a sensitive or empath and you feel disconnected from your body. So desire is so awesome. When we don't allow ourselves to desire even some of the most basic, simple things, we can lock our desire for some of the most soul connected and important things. So why don't we take a moment, take a deep breath, and I'd just like to invite you to ask yourself, what's going on inside? Am I feeling anything in particular right now? Am I feeling angry or irritated? Is it a pattern that's coming up? Am I feeling this burning, longing desire for something? You know, for a long time, I felt this burning desire in my mid-20s for just something more. Something more. I was looking for this deeper connection with my soul. And I tried it to find it through sex and eating and just chatting online, all kinds of things, working too hard, working all the time, and it didn't do it. If you're one like me, has it done it for you? So if you listen to that emotion, that instinct of desire, it can take you deeper. If it's one of those more surfacey things that you're desiring, it's okay, it's beautiful, but then ask, what is the underlying current of that longing, that burning hunger within me? Let's take one more deep breath. Nice, deep, full breath. And if there was one thing that you would want to do right now to better yourself, or something that keeps calling or repeating itself in your heart, what is it? What is that thing? Some of the other emotions we didn't talk about in these 7 heavy ones. Oh my gosh, it's looking at some of these that are holding us back from taking even the first step. Well, can you give yourself permission to take the first step towards the manifestation, some longing desire within you? And I pretty much can bet that you have at least one burning desire within you right now. And that desire, by following it, just the very first baby step, is what's going to help you to manifest that bigger soul longing that you may not even know until what that actually is. It's just a feeling, an instinct, a craving, a longing within you, until you take the very first step. And it could be as simple as talking to a friend or about it, or just writing it down in your journal, or putting that first step that on a piece of paper or a note that you stick on your mirror, that set a date for it, open your heart and mind for the perfect opportunity. If you go back a couple of talks, the savor process is a perfect process to follow to allow yourself to take that inspired action. So, oh, hey, Nikki, thanks for saying hello. Yes, on those baby steps. Hell yeah. We got to take them baby steps. The most important things. So, well, next week, I'm going to go a little deeper into self-care. I'm going to talk about 5 or more steps. We'll see. Specific things for empaths and sensitives to help you thrive. So have a wonderful rest of your evening or whenever you listen to this. And any of y'all that have tuned in, Nikki, good to see you. Been a long time. Lots of love, super big hugs, and we'll see you next week. Lots of love. Bye.